Okay, going live. All right. Okay, so now you see it always starts well before, right? Well, when you go live, it's interesting because when you go live, you say, okay, go live from Zoom. You say, oh, go with the stream on YouTube, and then when it opens the thing, you have to go back and you have to tell go live, and then you have to wait until it says you're live. But in fact, it starts before. It's already live before, so you have to be careful not to do what you don't want to do on camera. Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome on this new live for Patreon. So, whenever you join, as always, whenever you join, it's now. We are always now. So, it's now forever. So, you are already here with me right now. Doesn't matter when in time you watch this. It's already now. And so yes, we're going to talk about languages. And I from what I understand, it's not just languages, our spoken languages. It goes more also behavior. It's a language. Telepathic, right? How we exchange. It's also a language, but not spoken. And body language. Oh my god. I'm seeing myself. I have an impression that it's going faster. that the video is anyway. All right. Let's keep going. Yes. So languages is a very diverse topic, and I think it's also related to my experience with the last roundtable, where I realized the unspoken language that we have, what we're telling without telling, and that happens with everyone, not just right. Also during a discussion with channelers, etc., you really have they have a language, unspoken language, that reveals a lot, right? At least I've learned a lot about the people that are doing the roundtable with me during that experience. There is one that spoke to me about her pain, a lot of pain, huge pain, a pain that she has worked on, right? It's right, but her relationship with this pain is still very strong, and she relates to it in a very spiritual or very fifth dimensional way, right? Taking the point of view of we are all playing a role for everyone, right? These things, but I felt and I listened and I had this feeling, this understanding that was not all of it. And there is another one that is speaking about expression, how do you call it, disclosure and suppression of technology, like if those things could be things that are managed externally or that are real, right? Yes, from a human point of view, you can have a situation where a government or something like that may take decisions of not using certain technologies or developing them in secret and not releasing them. Now, one has to understand one thing from my point of view, which again, I said that in the roundtable, it's only my point of view. That is probably true. I'm not saying that is not happening in the human story, right? That we are somewhere. However, what I said is that I am a creative being and there is no one that can change anything to that, and I am in control, or right, I am manifesting my reality, so no one can add or take something away from my reality. I am the one interpreting it and putting things there. So if there is any suppression of technology, well, I am the one accepting that suppression by attracting that in my reality. So you see, it's always linked to me. It cannot be linked to a external doing that. So anyway, that's what I said. But then there is, and we were saying the same thing, but from two completely different start points, right? And I realized that what this person was saying is that they still don't understand their position as a human being. They have a problem with being human. So they don't see the power in them. They don't see themselves as a powerful creator. So they don't make the connection between the human and the creator. And they are not okay with human. And as for me, I take a position of, right, with positioning myself in the power of the creator, so in my power, and seeing me as in charge. And when I say in charge, it's not in charge as I'm directing it, but in charge as I am a creator being. Even if I am a human being, right? I am a creator being. We have talked about this many, many, many times, and that cannot change, right? So in that, I am in charge of my reality because I am creating it. Then I am not doing it with the will of the human. It's done as creation. But so for me, the approach is a approach of power. So I see my what can be my power struggle, or the problem, right, with abuse of power, with loss of power, with seeking power, and slavery, being a slave, being enslaving, right, having slaves, but also being enslaved. All of that, right, creating visions and experiencing things in places like Rome, the Roman Empire, and where they, but also in the during the plantation era slavery in the US, but that was more being in charge, the one with the slaves. Whereas with the Roman Empire, I had more the experience of enslavement, and knowing that what is shown of the Roman Empire right now, it's already completely whitewashed. What, right, in that idea, whitewash, because the Roman, right, when they talk about you have the impression that the Roman were like us, having a society like ours. um, they right everyone, every civilization or every tribe had magicians or druids or kind of things, except Romans. Are you fucking kidding me? Of course they used magic. They had sorcerers, they had witches, they had I mean the Constantine, his Helena, his mother was a witch. Do you really think that Constantine was a Christian? He used Christianity, but he was absolutely in that thing of witchcraft and this kind of thing. So the Romans used witchcraft, magic, druidism, certainly. They had those kind of things. But when you see the way, right, that's where I say it's whitewashed, or it's a modernity washed, in the sense that they have taken away all of those things, presenting in movies, not just in movies, documentaries, in books. They only show you the right what could be really related to our modern society. So nothing that is magic is present in the Roman Empire. It's only the tribes. So interesting, because we relate much more to the Roman Empire, not to those tribes, because those tribes have been annexed or wiped away, or right, they had exchanges with the Roman Empire, but they are more seen as pagan or right aliens from the point of view of the Roman Empire. So it's okay to have those with witchcraft, but Roman Empire, we have to see Roman Empire as not related to witchcraft or to magic or any kind of or anything like that, because that's the civilization and that's what has given our modern society, right? In Europe, everything comes from the Roman Empire, whether they were directly in the Roman Empire or whether they were just around it or whatever. The exchanges were there, and all the tribes, all that have come and invaded or whatever, they all had something from the Roman Empire, and all of our structure of language, and even right, and it's all, as I said, all those that have been gravitating around but not integrated or use Latin as a language. But however, Latin is used in botanic, is used in medicine, is used, and that's what, that's the standard worldwide. So Latin, so the Roman Empire has an impact still today. So you see, we have to wash the Roman Empire from everything that is related to magic. And that's interesting, right? It's interesting. And so for me, that is the thing that I realize, I understand that is not the case. The Roman Empire was an empire, was a society where a patriarchal society, where the man was the citizen, the Roman citizen man was in charge of his household, and the family was a very large household with his wife, children, slaves, and everyone that was gravitating around them, and everything belonged to the master of the house, or the man, or the citizen, and everyone was there to serve them. His wife was supposed to serve the master of the house. So the role of the wife was not a equal role that we have nowadays. It was a submission role, where women had absolutely nothing to do except serve their husband. take care of the children. And it's funny because when I listen to documentaries and all of that, they are trying to make me believe that women had a position and that women could have any other stuff to do than serve their husband. Well, no, not real. They had, of course, a marriage, and the position of the wife was certainly better than the slave's one, but the woman had not a position of power or a position of anything. When her husband had taken a decision, that was it. She had only one thing to do, exactly what her husband said, right? And there are probably exceptions with women that had, especially in the royal family, of course, right? Because a member of the family, of the royal family, right, of the empire, imperial family, a woman there who have a position of power, right, in regards of everyone else, except her husband and the emperor and any other male in the family, right? But they were in that family. It was exceptional because but it was what, a couple of women, maybe 3-4 women, or even not two women that could have that position in regards of the family, right? And in regards of some people that they could have had influence, right? But generally, I mean, how many millions of women were living in the Roman Empire? Only 1 or 2 had some influence. The rest was just shut up, make children, try to survive if you can, or if you die, well, you're dead. The man will take another wife, because, well, we know that with the in birth, a lot of women were right in danger, right? It was dangerous, and so many women died in childbirth, right? But that was the thing, and if when you talk about the Roman Empire, we cannot talk about equality. There is no equality in the Roman Empire. They had even not the notion of equality. The one that was in charge was the man, the citizen. And so he had power, absolute power over his wife, absolute power over his slaves. And absolute power is not just absolute power of saying what you have to do. Absolute power is a absolute power over the body and the mind and everything related to the person. They don't have a personality. They don't have rights. It's the master of the house, and that's all. So they, I said body, so it means that these people were at the disposal of their master in every way. So when you see a Roman Empire where they are so kind, I want to laugh. That is, I mean, maybe it's a version. Yeah, it's a version of the Roman Empire. It's not my version, right? It's not what I relate to. Obviously, there are other versions of the Roman Empire, but even from what I receive as right historical stuff and all of that, it doesn't make sense because we know that women were submitted and that they only had. So, for instance, the men citizens were allowed to have sexual encounters with anyone they wanted to have sex. They could have sex. Their wives, I'm not speaking about slaves, I'm speaking about the wife of a citizen. she was not at that liberty. Of course, many things were happening, right? It was not that people were doing things. So, if she was found with another woman or another man, her position would have been terrible in regards of her husband, because the husband, the man, was at liberty, complete liberty. So, right, you see, it's these things where I say, sorry, just a second. No, okay, that's fine. All right, that's simply right. My the way I see it. So now let's stop talking about that. But right, so I was talking about that because of my perception, right, of understanding my way of my language of power, right, that I use, that I have, and my understanding of it also, right. So those experiences and many others, right? It's not just the enslaving, and so it's also the abuse and being at wars, etc. So there is this link with power. So I express that, and I translate that with my empowerment. And so I see myself in that way of being the center of my reality, the center of my world, and in charge of the creator, the creation, my reality, my interpretation of reality. So when I'm interpreting reality, so interpretation of reality is how we create our reality, right? It's literally the meaning of creation. I'm not creating every physical things, I'm interpreting it, because as everyone. That's why I see things in a certain way, which is different from what anyone else sees. So, and I see myself doing that, and I cannot conceive that, so that one can come to me saying, "Oh, there are conspiracies," or that there is suppression of anything, or disclosure, right? Those things doesn't make sense to me, because first of all, I said it, I don't need those things in the now. Absolutely not. No one needs those things in the now, because if you needed them, it wouldn't be a need, it will be manifested, so it will be attracted, so it will be interpreted, so it will be created in your reality. If you had a need of that in this now, the fact that it's not in your now, it's that you do not need it. So many people want to have millions of this, of dollars, Swiss francs, or euros, or whatever. They want to have millions. But when you are seeing that, do they need those things? No, they don't. They are not spending $1 million right now. Why do they need why will anyone want something they are not in need of? That's essential, right? Because when you are wanting something that you do not need, but you are just in the want of it and you don't have it, that's lack. You're expressing lack. So you see, it's in that I say, well, I'm sorry. No, you can put it in all the way you want. If you use it, if you pretend that there is a government or a power structure that is suppressing, and but that they are doing it with their power over you, because that's the essential thing. It's a power structure that you are creating for yourself, where there is something that is suppressing something from you. And that's the problem with that vision, is that there isn't, and there cannot be. And it doesn't exist anyway. But we have governments, we have those things, right? They do exist in our attraction, in the interpretation of reality. We have these kind of things. We pay taxes, etc., to this. However, that is because we allow it, because we accept it, because we attract it. Do we need it? No. Right? That's the point. We don't need it. And the thing is also, disclosure is something, right? You have to be careful about what is lack. When you claim disclosure as something that is not happening, but you want it now, and it's not happening now, you are in lack. You are in outcome, you are expecting an outcome, that outcome is not there, you are in lack of that outcome that you are expecting, so you are in a circle of lack. And you will not have disclosure. That's why this stuff doesn't work. It's expecting something that is not there. It's lack. So these are the languages that I've been seeing, right, with these people. Now, the key thing here is that even if you see these patterns, these languages, these things, and you are exchanging, because you are exchanging a different level with everyone, you do not correct them. If you perceive that there is something that doesn't correspond with your point of view, you never correct them, or you never oppose them. You allow it. Why? Because it's their point of view. And even though you perceive that there is something that doesn't relate to you, well, okay, it doesn't relate to you, but it relates with them. And you have to allow everyone to have their own path. It's not up to you to change that, unless they come to you and they engage you in telling them your point of view, or how you differ from them. Why do you see things different from, right? There has to be an engagement that is directly requested, or even indirectly requested, but there has to be a request, an allowance for it. If you perceive that you do not express things the same way, and then you go in opposition to them, all you will have is more opposition. They will keep their position, and you will have to debate with them. When you enter into a debate that has the idea of changing someone's view, well, you are in duality, you are in, right? So you are only doing this. You will not, right? Because then you also have a goal, changing their mind. You do not do that. You let go. You keep your point of view, obviously, but you understand, you have the opportunity to understand the point of view of someone else, or to understand them, right? It's a language. That's what I'm saying. And that is very good also when you have to work with people. It's that you understand their language, what they say. What does that mean? Because we are always doing that. We are always saying more than what we believe we're saying. And I know that because I'm seeing it when I'm working with Roxy, and then she pick up in stuff, and sometimes I'm not talking about that, but she comes back to me with certain that. I said, oh, and I realized, well, I was saying more than what I was saying, but it's built in our language, right? We speak, and whatever we may be saying, there are other things that we are not saying, but with our words, but we are saying them with the meanings behind the words, with the meaning of our way of saying things. our body language, right? These kind of things. And that is, I think, the main thing here of language. Yes. He was talking. Shut up. Let me in. I'm waiting. Yes. All right. Hello, everyone. Here we are. Finally. While we were already listening in and waiting to come in and exchange with you, propose to you, or talking to you about this language. As human beings in the physical world, you have developed hundreds of thousands of languages all over the various eras and all of that. Whether it's the languages that you're still using or languages that are not in use anymore, or little languages that a couple of people have created for themselves, you have a lot of creativity around language, right? But you have often created these languages, especially as a vocal exchange, because you are relating everything with your voice. You exchange in that way. Your voice is the center of it. So your voice in your ears, you are using your ears to listen, right? That's how you structure your communication, direct communication, primal communication as human beings. And all of those languages are, well, there are various ways, right? Various stuff that are in those languages, the meanings, and some are more rich, other are, I say, less, have less in it and in them. But that's what you use. And you believe, right? It's the way you communicate, and that's the story you have. But however, your communication, so your language goes beyond that verbal exchange. You are using much more to communicate one to the other, or one to many, or many to one, or whatever. You have many, many ways. Even the internet is a language, even, right, or has its language, right? And you use telepathy much more than what you are aware of, but you're using it, absolutely. And you are using languages that are not written or spoken, but they are a exchange that goes deeper and are, but also simpler, but more complicated for you, right? From your point of view, whereas in fact it's much more the natural way of communication. But you become sensible to all of this, and all of these languages that you can be using, and the way you are using them. Right? The thing is that language, the languages that you are the most using, the vocal, but all of those are not real. Or it's the translation, it's the way you see things. because you are in communication much more than you believe with everything around you, so that your communication is absolutely not verbal. It's a communication that is built in, and it's a relationship that you have with all of these beings that is um, direct, and that is bringing this exchange to a level that you cannot reach as a human being, because you are unaware of what is happening around you. So you are using much more languages than the languages, spoken languages, that you are speaking. This guy is speaking French, Italian, German, English, and some local stuff. But he's also using so much more. Well, he's able to speak many other languages, right? But to speak, the speaking of it, it's more a translation in sound, because most of these other languages are languages that are more central, in the symbolism, and exchanging mentally, right? A psychic exchange. So when it goes into the sound, it's a translation, or a interpretation. And yeah, Naga, and many other languages. And you're the same. Everyone is the same. You have had so many, right, relationship with yourself, or with your other expressions, and your other expressions are not speaking your languages, so you have access to it. You just don't know how to do it in a awakened way, in a conscious way, but but underneath that is absolutely happening. So be quiet. It's okay. It's all right. It's nothing. Okay? Stop trying to manage everything. Be quiet. Good. So we have all of these languages that are at your disposal and that you are using. Aware or unaware, your reality is a physical reality where you require the use of a sound, vocal language, to exchange. You have also created those languages in a written way. Now, all of that is good. What there is around that is that all of that is not really how you are communicating, right? If you want what you are using there, it's the physical translation. The book is the manifestation of the communication, right? So that the real language that you are using, it's more, we will define it much more telepathical language, right? You are receiving the information, and then you are translating that information into a book, into a letter, right? That the communication happens at a different level. That's how you manifest your communication in physicality, in your physical world. We are, right? It doesn't change anything to your reality, this, right? It's still the way you're going to communicate all the time. What we are talking about is how you communicate in many levels of consciousness and not just one. When you have a letter, when you have a book, when you are watching a video, a movie, or anything like that, when you are talking with another co-creator, another human being, you are perceiving one level of communication, one language. And that's where we come to the point, is that all of that is happening to many levels of consciousness and therefore communication. One is you are aware of is your physical world, but then you have all the rest, all the other levels where you are using other ways of communication, therefore other languages. And when we say languages, is a way for you to understand, because the language could be just even not a thought from your perspective, but something is still happening, right? That is the thing. So that much more is communicated to you and to them, right, in that exchange. Then with all that you receive of information through those exchanges, you will decide what you do with that. What do you bring into your awareness? What do you keep and release to your awareness step by step? Because sometimes the information are a little bit too much, and you are delivering to yourself that information at the right moment where you are able to elaborate, to comprehend that communication. So let's say, for instance, let's get into examples, right? Human examples, right? How this language and information, right? How this is working. Let's take children, for instance. So children in a household where there are secrets, and you have some kind of studies around that, where adults are keeping the information of those secrets from the children, and then it turns out that one way or another, those children know the secret or are affected by the secret, even though they are not directly themselves involved in it, or it's something that happened from your perspective in the past or whatever, but they know that. So how is it possible? Because there is a communication. There is a communication with the family that is at different level of consciousness, and therefore the children are using that information for themselves, and so they come to the knowing of it, even if that knowing is not conscious, but they are using the information, right? And then at the right moment, they may be even able to communicate verbally on that in a way that is astonishing everyone else, because no one ever told them anything. But right, that's one example, in concrete, clear example of how these communications happen and then have a impact on your human physical world. So what happened last night with the roundtable and Max, in the way afterwards, he realized that he was having much more communication. It was communication, right? He communicated with all of his co-panelists, and afterwards he was able to put that communication into and bring that into his understanding, awareness, and interpret it and understand these persons in a new way. And you understand that that is a two ways communication, right? That is the next point, is that the communication goes always both ways. When you co-create with other beings, you have a co-creation that goes both ways. The information is always coming to you and going from you to them. It's not just one way. Therefore, you know the language as well as they know the language. If that comes to the awareness, it's, as a matter of fact, it depends on you and it depends on them for their side, right? And so you know language without the need of awareness of that language. You are using those languages without knowing it. And as a person working with other people in whether it's healing work or shadow work, what you call, right, these kind of things, when you are working in that, what you need is that understanding of their language or of what they are telling you in order to be able to guide them, right? To give them a awareness of themselves, because very often people that are seeking help from you, they are not able to perceive that language, so they are not able to understand it and to translate it for themselves. They're still communicating it, right? Because they have the will of communicating it with you. And they will. You have to take it and then bring them into the understanding, because then it's your work to do that, right? You have to translate for them what they are unable to translate, knowing that they are communicating it with you and with themselves. They are using you as a translator, because that's your position in that moment, that you are co-creating with them. You are there to give them that. Ooh. This is a this is something that is useful for you. Not in right. It's not. It's a way of relating to what is happening, to what you are doing, to what you are exchanging, to what is around you. It's a language. So it's a communication that is coming to you. You have to be able to translate it for the human, because very often the human is just unable to do it. And even when the human tries it, the human will be go, yeah. maybe it means this, or maybe it means that, or there is even that, or this, or that, right? The human will go all around trying to find a meaning and confusing themselves at the human level instead of allowing the information to come to them. So that's why they often they need that translation, and that's where you come in. You are translating for them what they are unable to directly understand from themselves. That's a way of sharing your light. You are not giving them the information. They are giving you the information so that you can give it back to them. Because even though they have the information, they are unable to translate it. They don't have the capacity in that moment of translating that information into a human communication. Mm. So we hope this helped. And yes, all right. What about the Romans? Something that is, yeah, you're very interested in the Romans. Look, everyone has their own perspective, their own way of interpreting it. That's your way. You see it in that way. And from your perspective, of course, that is correct. But there are many other perspectives, and they see things in another way, and maybe they need to have that cleaning because they cannot conceive reality in any other way. Now, is it useful for them to see other aspect of it? No. Even though, yeah, you're right, they are working in history, or yeah, those people that are making the researches and documentaries and everything, they are doing it on that, so they should have the knowledge, right? You understand it. But they are still beings with their own belief system, so they can relate to that only based on that belief system. They are not trying really to mislead. Some of them are not trying to mislead. It's simply what they understand of the situation, what they understand of history. So they are not able to, even though, yes, they probably have lifetimes in that era they are studying, but still, as beings with a belief system, they will not be able to access to the complete history, to the complete stuff, because what they are not believing, or what is not part of their belief system, is not coming out of them. They will refuse to see it. Human beings are very good at that. What they cannot relate with, they just don't see it. They just do not relate with it. And you have many examples of these kind of things. They do not see how, as you said the other day, they don't see how the ozone crisis and the climate crisis that you have are exactly the same thing, because they are exactly saying the same things, even though the situation are perceived as different. They talk about that in the same way, yes, but they don't see that because they are not relating to that from your point of view. That is a point of view of creator, understanding creation. They are putting those things in time, and they are relating to it in a different way. of fear. You're not scared of those things because you are understanding that they are scared. So that's a main factor. And yes, they have a memory, but they don't, right? Memory is not that thing that you can relate to. So many are even not remembering the ozone cries, right? So they are not doing it on purpose or whatever. It's the way they choose to express themselves, and they have belief systems. So you have simply to focus on you. That's all you have to do. All right? You have your own version, you have your own perspective, and yes, you have a perspective where you say there were magic, witchcraft, sorcerers, etc., in the Roman Empire. Of course, there were, also because they integrated so many different tribes that were absolutely using that. And then they were integrated in the Roman Empire. Gaul, with their traditions and their druids, of course, druids didn't disappear when they were integrated in the Roman Empire. So there were druids in the Roman Empire. Many of them. And then, are you happy now? Remember your perspective. And that's good. All right. So let's go. This was fun. Was the sneezing too? And we will see you soon in the next now. And up until then, goodbye. Well, it's always like that. You go and say, oh, this is important, this is important. I say, no, it's not. All right, anyway, thank you for joining in. Whenever in time you do it, you did it right now. So you have been in this call with us. And yeah, I love you, and I will be seeing you in the next now. Bye bye.